Hello, welcome to MCFC 9320. It's a bit of a full house tonight, actually. We've got Rosie and not Jim, Rosie and Anne-Marie. We've got Stan, John Baker, and Paul Riz from Prestige Car Repairs. Good evening, folks. I'm still laughing just before we went recording. Everybody okay?
Good.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Good. Everybody watched the women today?
Yeah.
Yep.
I listened.
What on Key 103?
No, it was on the Radio Manchester.
Was it? I did. It's about time they got the coverage. Well, I watched it, and we'll kick off with you first, Anne-Marie. I thought the first half we was okay, a lot better than last week, but we just didn't have that punch, did we? Second half, I thought we was, in my turn of phrase, bang average.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think the first half we played really well, and it was just a million miles different to last week. I do wonder if we need to play maybe two up front, because Bunny Shaw was great at holding the ball up, but she needed someone to pass it to quite a lot, and there was not anybody near her. Second half was poor by the first half standards, and I just wonder, coming on to your favourite topic, Andy, why Gareth Taylor left it so late to make any changes. You could see our midfield had run out of legs.
Well,
why he didn't make...
Well, funnily enough, Anne-Marie, I've got a quote here from Kelly Smith just before the game started today. I don't know if you heard her. She said, basically, you have to question Gareth Taylor, why so many players, have left. And Jill Scott also touched on it as well. And she also said, the players who've been there a long time, and the ones who want to go. So it seems like there's more players who actually want to leave.
Well, I can well imagine there are more players that want to leave, but you definitely, on today's performance, I would question him, because that second half was crying out for changes and he didn't make them till it was too late. I think there are some encouraging signs, though, especially from last week. But if we don't do something or improve soon, we're going to be, it's not just a case of playing catch up all season. I think we could really struggle this season.
What did you make of it today, Rosie?
Yeah, very similar. I think there were positives to take away when you compare it to last week's performance. But even that, it feels sort of like that's scraping the barrel, right? Like last week's performance shouldn't have been a thing to start with. I thought there were a couple of players that show promise. Castellanos did some fantastic work, really almost scrappy play, like balls that looked like they were kind of going out. She chased them down. Same with Kasparij. Don't know if I'm saying her name right. She was all over the field in a good way, I think. But I think our type of play was get the ball to Shaw and serve her, get her to make those shots. And sure, by 60 minutes, she's run out of steam. I think to Anne-Marie's point, I think those substitutes should have come in. We should have capitalised on the fact that Chelsea were having serious problems in their midfield. We didn't. They have the fitness and they turned that up second half. And by that stage, it was just unbalanced. I thought we were unlucky not to get the penalty in the first half. I think that probably would have calmed us down, given us some good confidence. It was a shame. And then it was a shame, obviously, that we gave away that penalty at the end. But I think the game was theirs by that stage anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a complex one. I'd say more so than last week. Last week's. Last week's was an obvious, like, that was terrible. What on earth happened? Ugh. This week, there was more signs that there's positivity, but I don't know. It's still a grim picture looking forward, I think, for now anyway.
Yeah, I agree. Stan, I know she's been out a long time, but Steph Orton doesn't look the same player. I know she's been out a long time, but I just think her decision making was a little bit poor today. What do you think?
I think she's going to be the elephant in the room. Do you drop her? She's been out, I can't remember, not obviously she played last week, but before that, she's been out a long time. And I think that defence started getting used to her not having there. And because she's such a big name and she's such a big presence, I mean, she's a City legend, there's no doubt about that. But how do you wind down your legends? That's going to be really difficult. That's probably going to be one of the biggest problems we'll have this year. Now, if you had 2 mobile centre-backs, we may not have had those problems that we have at the back over the last 2 games. It's going to be really difficult. I don't think Ellie Roebuck, to be honest, is commanding the back as she has done in the past, and she's come back from a long injury. You know, there's 2 big names, and she's another one she's been there a long time. So that's 2 people there that you're almost looking at what City were, trying to meld into what City are trying to evolve into, and it ain't quite fitting. You know, you're putting, you know, squares into round holes. I don't think they're there. You saw Casper, the right back. She was getting forward, great. She can attack from the right back, no problem. But then can Horton shuffle over and cover her? Because there's going to be space at the back. I don't think she could. First half, we were great. If we'd have gone in there 2-0 or 2-1, 3-1 up, I don't think anyone would have complained. We've got a little bit at the moment that when you're at the bottom, nothing goes your way. I don't think that was a penalty for us. But when you're at the top, you'll get that penalty and you won't be given the penalty that went against us in the second half.
No, but I don't think it was a penalty because I think it was just outside the box.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
It was most definitely a foul, but we didn't even get the
Yeah.
foul.
Yellow card.
That was it. Yeah.
It was 100% a free kick. No question about that. But that's what I'm saying. When you're at the top, you'd probably get that as a penalty. Yeah.
I agree.
And you won't get you wouldn't have had the penalty go against you when, you know, with Owabi got the handball. It's little things like that. And we're not really getting that break either at the moment. There's no doubt about that. First half, for the team that's only played together twice, you got to remember they're the champions and we were in their backyard and we took it to them.
First half, I'd say we took it to them first half. Stan.
Yeah, no, hang on. And that really brought on the second bit that I think, you know, we did run out of steam a bit. There's no doubt about that. And then one or 2 players were looking to one another thinking, who's making the runs? And again, you don't know. 6 months ago, you wouldn't have had to look around to see who's making the runs. You'd played together long enough to know who was making them runs. She comes too deep sometimes for forward. But as Anne-Marie said, she had to come deep. And I tell you what, if she gets GBH put against her by the police tonight, I would not be surprised. She battered, and I mean battered, 2 top, tough centre-backs. Now, he probably at some point should have brought on somebody to play up front with her with a bit of speed who could then run past them. You know, she's heading the ball down. And
that's what it needed, definitely.
Yeah,
You know,
John.
You know, for me that was missing. Maybe Kelly Chloe could have chopped in a little bit, you know, come off the line. Same with Lauren M. Just made it a little bit more difficult in the middle because they were wobbling in the middle. And Buchanan, she's not an idiot. She's a top world-class centre-back. So I like Castellas. We mentioned her last week.
Yeah.
She's going to be a great player. I'm still waiting for Mary Fowler to get a chance. She's good. She'll be all right.
Yeah.
These ones that we brought in, they're fine. They're fine. They'll be all right.
John, one thing, what in my opinion today, Lauren Emp doesn't look entirely happy, nor does Chloe Kelly, and I think that's the after effects of some of the team, the way it's been broke up in the summer.
It's that, and you could point this finger at Chelsea as well.
Do you mind, Joel Stan? I'm asking John.
Oh, sorry, mate. No, they were all the Euros, though, weren't they? There's going to be a little bit of afters. Both of them, they're going to be absolutely mentally knackered from what had gone on, not just physically.
Thing is, you've got to remember as well, they've also played in the tournament out of season as well, so they're going to be tired anyway. Mm-hmm. But the first half was they played really well, and they chased the ball down like actually the men's team do. And what for me, our defence just doesn't seem right at the moment. And like you say about Steph coming back, it's as if that they're all sat there thinking, yeah, Steph's back now, we can relax a bit. But she's going to take some time to get back into it as she was, and I don't think she will ever get back to as she was.
I agree. Riz, you said you listened to it on the radio. How did it come across on the radio today?
Well, the lady on co-coms is a referee apparently, and she said if she'd have been refereeing that game, she would have given a penalty. But she said, I don't get the opportunity to. Where they were watching it at Chelsea, they didn't get a replay. So she said, off first impressions, she would have given a penalty. But then apparently they asked around the press box and they were saying it was just outside. Yeah. And, so my gathering of it was like Stan said, you win some, you lose some. I think on a good day, we'd have got that. We'd have got a penalty or at least a free kick. If nothing else, it should have been one or the other. I'd just like to go to the point of City's sort of like got a good reputation in the women in the WSL. But with them losing so many players and key players, we've not really replaced them, I don't think. So, forget it. It's like we're starting all over again this season from having a reputation of, being a top four side, consistently, good and fighting for competitions, to nobody knows what we're going to be, because the players themselves are going to take ages to get into, football's made up in like little teams, and you've got your little your partnerships around the field, and it was quite obvious today listening to it that it wasn't quite clicking, it wasn't gelling, and that's going to take some time to do. I think Stan mentioned that, and it's quite worrying that we've lost so many key top players. I mean, we have lost probably the best women's midfielder in certainly Europe, if not the world, and you can't replace that. You can't replace somebody like her. But it just worries me, that we can lose so many players, and we discussed it last week in a bit of detail, I think, and it was more apparent yesterday. Listening to the game today, that it's going to be a problem moving forward.
Isn't that down to Taylor to change how we play then? Really?
I don't know. I don't know the setup. I don't know who he has alongside him. What the situation is there. Obviously, the senior level with the gents. It's the buck starts with Pep and his team, but I don't know. There's just something wrong, there's something wrong at City. Definitely. And I don't know what it is. The fact that the Taylor's still there would suggest it's not Taylor. But then they mentioned it on the radio today, apparently, when I can't remember what she was called. She scored the other day, and she was going mad, celebrating it, and she's just left us and joined another team, and she was celebrating scoring against us.
Caroline Weir.
Yeah, Helen Weir, that was it, sorry.
Caroline
Helen Weir, yeah. She's somebody else, I think. But yeah.
We don't want to know that story, Riz.
No, but she celebrated as though she had a point to prove against us, and as though, sticking one up and, 2 fingers at us. So, that makes you then think there's something dramatically wrong behind the scenes, and, time will tell.
Thing is, regarding getting rid of Taylor, would they have to give him some kind of compensation package? Have they got the money to do that?
I don't know how it works. As I say, I don't know enough about the infrastructure behind it, how it works, and what the rules are, and what have you.
Here's one, Rosie. What amazed me, considering all the players what we've lost, during the summer, that we let Jess Park go out on loan to Everton. Watched her today. I think she scored today, but she caused Liverpool a lot of problems. Rosie, have we lost Rosie? Anne-Marie,
froze.
Yeah, I think you know, this it just highlights for me maybe the issues we do have, that we would let somebody like Jess Park go out on loan when, you know, the reality is we need to keep our younger players and help progress them at City, not somewhere else, because we're in a position where, you know, in that first half today, everything went down the left-hand side through Hemp. And we just, you know, we didn't use Chloe Kelly in the way we should have done at all in that game. But I think we have to give some of these younger ones a chance, because they're going to be more keen, they're going to be more geared up and G'd up to play the game at a senior level. You know, and not look to the old hands, you know, maybe Steph's day is done, because she definitely looked short on pace today. You know, so
it's just bizarre, because one example in the men's game, Pep, he had plenty of opportunities to let Phil Foden go out on loan and stuff like that, but he resisted the temptation so he could, you know, train with the squad, although, you know, he wasn't really getting any game time. And I think the same principles should have happened, you know, with Jess Park.
I would agree, and I think there's a lot of ways in which
You okay there, Riz?
Sorry.
Do kind of copy each other, both in the attempt to play out from the back and things like that, and the pressing. So it should be the same for the team itself. That's what we do. You know, you look at Cole Palmer, we haven't let him go out on loan. And so I think it does beg the question. I don't like saying it, but I think there's something deep rooted in the City women at the minute that's almost poisonous.
And it quite possibly could be Taylor. It could be that he didn't want her to stay because it would have created more work for him. And he might have said, well, I've got all this lot to deal with. I can't deal with training, bringing her through as well. Let her go out on loan. That's what he might have said. So it could all be down to Taylor. But we don't know, do we? That's the big question.
Surely, if that's the case, then, you know, the powers that be at the club should see this going on and then start asking questions, because, you know, we haven't got a massive abundance yet of top class female players. You know, we're getting rid of the best players. The best players are leaving us.
And want to leave
wanting to leave.
And if it, like I touched on earlier, if what Jill Scott said, I don't know if she let that slip accidentally or not, and that's what the example. Yeah, they might have had a bit of an hangover from, you know, the Euros, but Lauren and Chloe Kelly today, they just didn't. They wasn't the same, you know, because other players who was in the England, you know, for the Lionesses, for different clubs, they're all right, they're flying. So it's one hell of a coincidence, Stan, if it's just Chloe Kelly and Lauren Hemp.
I don't think it was. I don't think Chelsea have had a flying start. They didn't. They lost last week like we did.
Yeah.
But they was better than they did what they needed to do today.
Yeah,
they got lucky today, I think.
Second half.
But Andy, they were lucky in the second half. If you look at the stats from the first half, Chelsea faced more shots in the first 45 minutes than they have since, I think they said something like 2013.
Did we get 3 points for the most shots today?
No, but you don't. You know, even the men's team don't. But it's a fact that we.
One of the big differences for me today was the keeper.
Yeah.
Because their keeper was absolutely sublime today, and
I'd have given her one of the match, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
she kept them in it in the first half.
Like some of them stops she did.
Player of the match, you can't call them man of the match, mate.
No.
Person of the match.
Listen, Stan can say what he wants, mate. You crack on, lad.
Yeah, no, it's. I think you're right. I mean, here's another angle for letting Jess Park go out. Do we think she would have got the regular game time that she's going to get at the top flight with that she will do with Everton? So if we want to develop her and give her more minutes at the level that we're playing at, she will get that at Everton.
Imagine her coming off the bench today, though, when we was in second half, her coming to run at the Chelsea.
I think this is the first. This is the first goal. I'm pretty certain this is the first goal she's ever scored in the league. So she makes
things happen. She makes people sit on the edge of the seat.
We need to add something else though, because we haven't got another striker other than Shaw.
She did it today, but have you seen her over the last 10 matches? We don't know. We don't know. And the thing is, if there is a poisonous atmosphere there, and she's only, 20, she's probably better off out of it.
Yeah.
She can concentrate on the football and get on, whatever the problem is, whether there's, a schism within the club or a schism in with Taylor. I don't think it would cost them anything to get rid of Taylor anyway, because you can always put him back with the academy. And like with most firms, you do what you're told to work, aren't you? You know what I mean? You could work here one day and then they say, oh, we don't want you working on that anymore. You can go and work over there.
What do you think the problem is, Stan?
I really, honestly, genuinely don't know. It's probably a combination of a lot of small things. Like they may not be happy with the training sessions, things like that. You'll say, oh, that comes back to Taylor. He might not be happy with what's going on. It's the buck will always stop with the manager, but I just think it is so telling that it wasn't him that went when the others went. It's sending him, that is sending a message. And it seems to me that he's telling people that don't matter how unhappy you are, it's the same with Pep. If you don't want to be here, there's the door. End on.
You could end up. You could have a situation where it's. May I say it? If some of them are being prima donnas, you don't know. They could have this. This Billy Big Time coming back from.
I mean, you don't know whether
you don't know, do we? We don't know.
You don't know whether they've had an argument in the dressing room. And they said to Taylor, this is no good, this is no good, this is no good, and that's no good. And he turns around to them and says, well, you've won nothing. You've not won the league in 3 years. You might be top dogs. Where are you? When it comes to the final shake-up, you're very rarely in there. Now, you saw what happened this week in Spain. They've all said that they're not happy with their manager. And the Spanish FA turned around and said, right, we'll pick the kids then. We're not bothered. But like when it says, you can't go and demand stuff. There's nothing wrong in sitting down and talking and having a civil chat and say, well, I don't think the training's right because in the last 30 minutes, because the way we play, we're struggling, we run out of steam. And that happened today. You don't know. There's so many things that are going on and you don't hear about. They train together every day and they're there for 2 hours, 3 hours together.
Marie, I just feel it's something more deep rooted than.
There might be a schism in there that they didn't like so many English players in there. I don't know. I'm just saying that a little clique might have formed, and the club might be glad to get rid of the clique.
Look what happened when Pep came in at City. There was obviously stuff. Well, there was stuff going on behind the scenes with likes of Joe Hart and players like that. And these were people who you thought at the club were irreplaceable. Pep came in, got rid of them, and have we looked back? No, we haven't. So,
I think there's a bit of a difference between Pep and Gareth Taylor, though, isn't there?
Yeah, but there is, but the principle's the same. He's the gaffer, and if they don't like it, if you're going to start having, little cliques and little, hissy fits in the changing room about stuff. Once it starts, it's difficult to stop, and perhaps he's just decided, well, off you pop.
I reckon it's down to Gareth Taylor. As soon as we started mentioning him, look, Rosie's left. No more can I say. I can't believe in this day and age, if it was just out of Gareth Taylor, he'd be gone.
The other thing, Ganal, is the players that they brought in, it's not like little Wendy from the Dog and Duck. They brought in some seriously good players. I can't pronounce the name, Castellanos, Dana.
What's she called, mate?
Dana. She's a seriously good player.
Yeah.
Seriously good.
Yeah, and it's going to take time for them all to bed in.
Yeah.
You know,
What's that new one
get
from?
that.
What's that new one from West Ham? Like the Japanese girl.
She's another good kid. She's all right.
Maybe.
She's played,
Yeah.
What's she called, John?
go on, what was it again? Asabi.
Oh, yeah, we've got Rosie back connecting.
Here she is.
Yeah.
She got rid of Gareth Taylor then.
Did you get rid of?
Sorry.
Did you get?
I thought I could sniff Gareth coming this way, so I legged it. Apologies for that.
We thought you'd left to get it. We thought you'd left to sack him.
She
I
went
wish
do
I had the
some-
power.
You did some research. That's what you do. You went away to do some research.
So while you was away, has there been an announcement? Gareth Taylor's been sacked.
Just wait and see. I can't say anything I wouldn't want to say, but I'd love to thank Nick Cushings for all the support he's given me. As Kira Watt said, what a zinger that was when Kira left. Just thanked him, not
Yeah.
not
What do you think's the problem, Rosie? What do you think's going on behind the scenes?
I think it is a lot of different things. I think he probably lost the locker room with a lot of the previous senior players and a lot of the players we've lost. And I think that then creates a sort of challenging dynamic for the younger players that we have in there. I think the point about Steph is really interesting. I think you hit the nail on the head, Stan, when you're saying, how do you retire a legend? Like, it's clear she's not at her top anymore, but she obviously has quite a sway in that locker room and leadership position. But you look at other players in there, even someone like Lauren Hemp or Chloe Kelly, who are solid, strong. Vicky Losada is another one as well. But they probably don't have the permission to sort of lead from the front in that way. So I don't know. I think it's hard, isn't it? It's like if you work in a company and everyone hates your boss and you're the new person, you can kind of sense there's something in the water, but you don't. And I think that can affect mentality. It can affect your confidence. When you go behind in games, you then like, it doesn't take much to knock you over. But I think it's hard not to argue that the book has to stop with the manager. And I probably would have supported him last season and said, look, play devil's advocate. There's probably loads of good reasons.
There's a lot of injuries last year, weren't there? So I think
a lot of injuries. Yeah,
I think
exactly.
you can hide behind that, can't you? Use that as a
Okay then, Riz.
Well, yeah, we've had the better start this year. It's only 2-0 away instead of 5-0 at home. We've got beat.
Hang on, Stan, just hang on. Just let me ask Riz and Rosie this question then. Yeah, we could hide behind it last season because we had a lot of injuries. Can you not put them injuries down to the training at the manager's methods?
You can.
Rosie, yeah.
You flip a coin, right? Like you can or you can't. It depends which point of view you're taking. I think when things happen in isolation, you put them down to like, oh, that's unfortunate, that's a coincidence, whatever. When things become a pattern, then you begin to say, oh, look, all these things are happening together. Yeah, it could be the way they're doing the training, but I don't know. That's not it for me. But that's just my gut. I don't know what you reckon.
I think that's a coincidence. We've not had that list since, and a lot of them players haven't been injured as badly since. I agree with you that it'd be a repetition. It's not been a repetition though. They've been injured once altogether at that one time. And I can't remember how many got injured in matches. No.
Perhaps if they all need to get asthma.
Yeah.
That might help.
Could do. Might not run out of steam second half then.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Listen. None of us know what really goes on behind the scenes. It must be really difficult to try and once you've lost a few players. I can understand the girl got to Barcelona because that draw's amazing, and it's the way they've all gone. They all seem to have gone at once. Is it a case of, when I used to play rugby, we had a season once where we were all at a certain age, and we won 60. The league. Yeah. When we won the league, and we all decided I ain't gonna have a better season than I've just had, and I'll retire. There was a hell of and sometimes maybe, they kind of seem to stay at the club for a couple of years, two years, and then move on. maybe it's just unfortunate that they've all decided to move on at that time. And listen, there's loads of things we could sort of blame it on.
There's loads of factors.
Exactly, but it might be a little bit. I think Rosie said this. It might be just a little bit of a few things, and it all adds up to losing 2 games at the start of the season. You're better off, losing a couple of games, aren't you? As you say, Stan said it's an improvement on last season. So we had a poor start to the season and finished it strongly. So
it's interesting.
Only time will tell.
So we're all like discussing it, right? And like we could talk till the cows come home about like what it might be, what it might not be. I think what is interesting is everyone who's either retired or left, no one has named him specifically in anything to say like, oh, and thanks to him for, the last season, or even someone like Ellen White, who was there for years, and Jill Scott, neither of them, who would have quite big presence in those locker rooms, were saying anything mildly defensive of him or credit to him. And I think that's interesting as well, because those players don't have anything to lose. They're retiring. You know what I mean? They can say what they want. I can understand, other people sitting on the fence, but I don't know. There's just something off.
I was saying earlier, Rosie, there's an interesting parallel with Spain, because they've just turned around this week, haven't they?
Yeah.
And said, oh, we're not playing you if you're not happy with what's going on. So
is it maybe
you really don't know. You really don't know.
Is it maybe a bigger picture thing in the world of women's football? Was it Rapinoe, as she called the outspoken, the outspoken American player who was campaigning for this, that, and the other,
or something, yeah.
Yeah, and she was quite gobby over it, wasn't she? Really, and I don't think she made a lot of friends with it, to be honest. But is there perhaps something going on behind the scenes? These players have been in the Euros together. They've been chatting to a lot of fellow professionals, and do you maybe think that there's something on a bigger scale going on? I don't know.
It's a really good point, because I think Man City, prior to everyone leaving, had about 7 or 8 England cap players, maybe more. I think that was the highest. It was the biggest England international club team. It was City. And when you go and you have Serena Wiegman as your manager, and there's a culture that surrounds all that, and everyone's getting on, it's the summer of your life, it's all that brilliant, and then you go win the tournament. It's a high fall to come down from that for anyone, which we talked about with Lauren Hemp, looking a bit tired, Chloe Kelly, like this fatigue, post fatigue that comes with that. But whether that then magnifies the problems you feel back in your club, quite possibly, because you've seen what it tastes like the other side, right?
I think we've hit the nail on the head, Rosie. I think that's what the problem is. I think they're coming on a major downer from, an amazing, Euros, winning it. There's a lot of City players in that setup. And you say they may just love what she was doing with the coaching and the training and the camaraderie of it. And then they go back to the club level and think, oh, God, it's this. God, this is like, going back to the early days of women's football. This is archaic. Maybe that, we don't know.
There must have been around a dozen England internationals in training on at City. Aside those in the Euros that went, you've got Steph out, who was at England international, Ellie Roebuck's in England international. They're all there.
Yeah,
there was loads of them.
That must have been a big kick in the teeth of to Steph Horton not being. I know it's you can't really have the sympathy thing too much, but maybe to drop her out of the squad altogether, having been an integral part of it, that must be a real downer for her on a personal level as well.
She did an interview. It was, I don't know where it was, the Players Tribune or something.
This week. Players Tribune.
Did you read it?
Yeah.
It was sort of heartbreaking to read, really. She was on a time, after her surgery, and she was going on 100 miles an hour to try and get back. I think her surgery was in February, so she had about 6 months. And as you say, an integral part of the England team, that sort of bookended older age as well. So to do all the work to get them there, but I think the reality is, she's not the player she was 5 or 6 years ago. And I don't think she's up to scratch with her fellow England players anymore. I think they would run circles around her. But that is tough. I mean, mentally, I commend her for showing up each week with City this season, because that is hard to, I think it's a bitter pill to swallow. And she said that as well. It was bittersweet and very hard to watch the matches,
That's a good point, that, Rosie, because although you can say Steph's been out for a full season, I think women's football in general in that full season has improved massively. You know, the pace of the game and stuff like, you know, especially with, you know, some of the foreigners coming into the, you know, into the league. So, you know, because she did look off the pace today, and as I say, you know, she has been out for a while, but she didn't look the comfortable Steph Orton as we know she, you know, she once was.
A cruel man points out that the England defence looks a lot more solid, and she wasn't in that defence. In City's defence, in 2 games, we've conceded 6. I can't remember when we've conceded 6 in 2 games. It's...
Yeah.
No, that's the point. Right, final one before we go to Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie, how can this be fixed?
That's nice.
No,
You know,
I'm here, and I know the answer you would like me to give.
No. I'm after your opinion, your sole opinion.
Oh, I think there has to be a period of time, because we have to let the new players bed in a little bit. So not an instant sacking of Gareth Taylor, but we have to give it, you know, 2 months, see how we're going. If there's signs of improvement week on week, then happy days. If not, then it's time for him to go.
Okay. Anybody else get anything to add before we skedaddle?
yeah. Like I said last time, go for the England manager, and you'll bring them all in.
I do not want Gareth Southgate anywhere near our club.
Not that one.
All right.
I want Graham Taylor.
Graham Taylor.
I want Graham Taylor back.
Yeah.
What happened to
Right,
Gareth?
guys. Thanks for joining us. I do really enjoy these, but you know, because the opinions are so different, and you get Stan, who tries to bring a bit of reality and stuff to, you know, the program. So thank you all.
Yeah, we've got no game next week for the women. The next game's the 16th. We're at home to Leicester. 2 o'clock.
And Andy, don't forget to mention the sponsors.
The sponsors will always be, you know, the forefront of the show.
Purchased from them.
Look at that. Purchased from 3 Retro. You can follow them, you know, you can see there on Twitter and the website. You know, you can order pretty much any shirt from any country.
I if it helps, I actually repaired a Saab this week. So what an amazing link that is.
Yeah, Stan, and you can even get them in size medium, my friend.
Good man. Do they do him in retro prices?
Unfortunately not.
No,
They're not that bad though.
There's
30
always
quid.
this.
but they're very, very good prices. And on that note, thanks for joining us, guys, and we'll do it again. We'll still do it again next week.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay.
Have a good
Thanks,
week.
Take care, everybody.
Have a good one.
Bye bye.